Okay, we're going to screen this floor off. There's still a lot of imperfections, but that's going to help us see where there's a problem yet. We're going to use the same scrubber we used to clean. I'm going to put a drive pad on. Now, a lot of times a rental store will sell you, and they don't have any real brushes, they just have drive pads. Yesterday I showed you a drive pad that looks like a bristle. This is a drive pad that doesn't look like a bristle, but it goes on the same way. And you can use your black pad if you had that from yesterday. I use a red one, it's a little softer, and I'll put it on here. And then we're going to use these screens. Now there's color course is pretty hard. This is a 60 grit screen. We might go through 3 or 4 of them on here. If you don't have a lot of color course, one will probably do it. I always bring 2 because if I hit the edge or a nail or something, it'll curl up and then I've got a problem. So I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to throw another one over there to remind myself that I should change it when I get going. I'm going to set this scrubber up over it and just throw this on top. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered, but it helps to be a little bit, and it probably helps not to be on something too sticky to start with. Now I usually wait about 10 hours between coats to make sure that the floor is cured well. It was nice and warm last night, so we probably don't have a problem. But if we start too soon, if we had a drip from our brush or something else, or a cool spot, it might, even though you feel it, it feels good. This heats up the floor slightly as it spins, and it might make it tacky enough where it sticks, and then you end up with a little glue on your, little epoxy on your screen, and it makes kind of a mess, and sometimes you can stick your screen to the floor. So if you're going to stop doing stuff, lift that screen off right away, because as it cools it might stick to the floor. I'm going to set my handle up about waist height. I like it about here. And you can tilt your machine to get started. You can give it a pull to get started. If it's hard to get started with the screen, sometimes I'll put a little sand or something underneath, a little salt, just something to help it have bearings to get going. These have a safety, so I have to make sure I have the safety on. And I'm going to pull it towards myself to get going. So I'm just shaving everything off here. You see I'm going right over what I just did with the grout. Anything I left on there is just shaving off flat anyway, so I didn't have to do a great job. Anywhere I have bubbles, I'm going to go a little slower, make sure I shave those off. Okay, see this hairline crack? How when I went over it just took off the excess. So I didn't have to have it perfect, and shaving it pretty flat should do a pretty good job. That might disappear. You might see it. Okay. So you see what happened? This wore that right out. That's that color quartz. So and when I got to this edge, that's that big trowel area we did. So that's why it probably ripped it up. It was already pretty well worn. Okay, pull it towards myself. And you can't see it, but I'm lifting up just slightly to go to the right, and I'm pushing down just slightly to go to the left. So I don't have to hold this too strong. It's mostly just having it balanced. And I'm going to use a third screen on this, maybe even a fourth, because of all those color quartz on there. This is the color chips we've thrown down before. We have to vacuum and sweep this all up, so I'm just not worried about it. I don't dwell in one spot too long. This epoxy is pretty new. And if I stop in one spot, I could just warm it up and make it sticky. So, you know, the screen is really a little heat there. So I keep moving. I don't stop in one spot. I don't go too slow. I'd rather go over it twice quickly than once real slowly. Okay, I'm going to get another screen now. So this one tore apart too. So as I say, the epoxy itself wouldn't do this. And if you're going over wood, sometimes you don't have to do all this cleaning. You can just use one of these screens to go over plywood. It'll shave the edges of plywood sheeting together. And I'm going to take a little hand one and go over the step and stuff and maybe some corners. But I'm not going to worry about them too much because anything we aren't walking on isn't going to be much of a concern. I'm just checking to make sure these bubbles are shaved flat. That screen gets worn out so fast. I just want to make sure at least the bubbles are shaved nice and flat. Now if you notice, I ran the cord into the kitchen with the 20 amps. These machines draw quite a bit of current, so I could just be popping circuit breakers if I didn't have it on correctly. Now here's this one where there's just a little color quartz. I'm going a little slower. If we didn't have so much quartz on some of these big areas, I'd go a little slower here and try to shave them off, but we're going to have to live with a little of this. Okay, should be good. Notice I move it off right away. I don't want to stick that to the floor. The floor is pretty solid, but I don't want to have to take a putty knife and pull that grit off the floor.